show you an image with no context, and you tell me how it makes you feel. Sorry, try to ignore the scary music. Actually, you know what? Here, let me just pause that so you can give it more of a neutral go. Okay. Less intense, but still pretty disturbing, right? Don't you feel a little disturbed in some way? Maybe you're even thinking, what kind of monster would paint something like this, right? Or even worse, what if I told you that this artist's paintings aren't from the Jack the Ripper Museum or something like that? No, these paintings are hanging in the house of a rich and powerful couple right now. What? Tony Podesta? No, he wishes. I'm talking about the chateau of Italian screen queen Sophia Loren. You know her. The original sex symbol, the muse of Vittorio De Sica. So what is this glamorous celebrity doing with these disturbing paintings in her house? I don't know, maybe because they look cool as fuck. Also, quick footnote for no particular reason, but Sophia Loren is not a pedophile, a sex trafficker, or a Satanist. Just wanted to flag that in case any of you guys were wondering. These canvases are the work of master painter Francis Bacon, one of the most celebrated visionaries of the 20th century. An artist who numerous others, including the great David Lynch, who in my opinion is the greatest American artist of this century, have cited among their biggest influences. Also not a pedophile.
I'm not sure if I can remember exactly when I first saw a picture by Francis Bacon, but I would have been very young. I mean, he's always been my favorite artist.
I too find Bacon's work to be haunting and evocative. They're visceral, mysterious, and technically superb memento mori. He invites us to face the mortality of our meat corpuses and push beyond. He creates beacons of darkness that stir the spirit and invite transcendence in the face of decay. Nightmarish, but also breathtakingly beautiful, like Bloodborne. Anyway, Bacon was one of the many artists in early 20th century Europe who helped revolutionize the world of painting. These artists were branching out beyond the stodgy traditions of idealized portraiture of nobility or banal representations of scenes from the Bible and ancient mythology. By the 1930s, painting and the world had changed dramatically. But the Nazis didn't like that. They liked the old world, back when Germany had a big old empire. And the goal of art was just to, glorify the Aryan ideal. The operas they loved, like those of Wagner, don't try to stir difficult feelings or explore psychological nuance. They were grand, patriotic, myth-making machines. Contrast that with more modern musicals, something like Phantom of the Opera, where we're asked to feel for someone we thought was a monster. The Nazis saw that kind of emotional ambiguity as degenerate, or as Wagner himself called it, Jewishness in music. Paintings, too, were expected to serve the same nationalist function, glorify the Aryan ideal and suppress dissent. To that end, in 1937, the Nazis opened the infamous Degenerate Art Exhibition, not to celebrate creativity, but to ridicule and condemn it. Among the featured artists was Otto Dix, one of Weimar Germany's most celebrated painters. His raw, often grotesque depictions of post-war trauma, broken bodies, and social decay were deemed a threat to Nazi ideals. The regime called this kind of art the product of a, quote, Jewish spirit. To induce pity for those who suffer is a bad thing, according to the Nazis. Which, makes sense because they were working very hard to exterminate an entire race of people and conquer and subjugate a continent. And in order to do that, you first need to dehumanize the people. An art that invites empathy works contrary to that goal. Thus, it's degenerate, and the state must intervene to stop it and jail those responsible for painting and promoting it. Many of these artists were banned, silenced, or forced into exile. Not for doing crimes, but simply for making art that made people uncomfortable. I'm just going to mention real quick that Otto Dix also painted these beautiful yet unnerving, melancholy portraits of sad, pale children, which the Nazis considered a criminal offense. Sound familiar? Hi folks, Lee here. Sorry for that unnerving opening, but today we're talking about the intersection of weaponized fascist conspiracy theories and unnerving art. So it's gonna be a bit unnerving. If you're also into unnerving, fucked up art like me, why not drop a subscribe and join the party? Cheers. But if you really don't like experiencing any of those degenerate feelings, I recommend closing this video and maybe switching over to a Leni Riefenstahl movie. Her movies are just pure happiness and triumph and joy and beautiful white people laughing and doing flips and stuff. You'll love it. Anyway, I appreciate all the feedback I got on my last video, the epic 3-hour debunk of Pizzagate, which I venture is just about the dumbest conspiracy theory of all time. Most of y'all really dug it, but not popular social media user Flesh Simulator. It has been brought to my attention that this user is not happy about my video. In fact, it seems he's been very grumpy ever since I uploaded it. He keeps tweeting about wanting to shoot his neighbors and stuff. I know he's joking, but it's just kind of a weird joke. What's that? Oh, he says he's not joking? Okay. So why is he so angry? Well, let's click on his profile and see if we can figure it out. Oh dear, he's a Pizzagater. Wow, and he just uploaded a pro Pizzagate video. Oof, yeah, that explains it. Very embarrassing. He didn't know I had that debunk in the chamber. That makes sense now why he's so angry. When Pizzagate is part of your identity, me ridiculing it as the big dumb hoax that it is feels to him like I'm ridiculing his own identity. But don't worry, Flesh, you can keep LARPing. Nobody's gonna take that away from you. Calm down, bud. Don't shoot your neighbor. You can keep wearing the tie. So what did he think of my video? Well, I don't really know either, because what he tweeted at me has nothing to do with Pizzagate. Imagine my confusion when I received this challenge both on Twitter and in my YouTube comments. Do I think the concept of snuff films is a debunked conspiracy theory? What the hell does that even mean? We both know I could go over to 4chan and bring back like 30 videos of people dying in 10 minutes. But what does that or any of this other random shit have to do with Pizzagate? The answer is nothing. So I guess he's just trying to pull the, oh yeah, you're a fan of Pizzagate? Name every conspiracy theory then. Nice one, Flesh. It seems clear to me that he was just looking for a way to give himself permission to dismiss everything I said without actually having to use his brain. Very clever tactic, Flesh. But check out this next move. I believe every single conspiracy theory except Pizzagate. Boom. Checkmate. Naturally, when I responded by asking him if he believes in Pizzagate or not, he never responded to my question. Feels a little cowardly there, Flesh. I mean, the only reason we're talking is because of Pizzagate, and you made an entire pro Pizzagate video, but you won't even admit that you believe it? Go figure. After he calmed down from another violent fantasy of murdering his neighbors, he did manage to summon exactly one criticism of my video. So let's hear Flesh out and see if he's gonna present some evidence for Pizzagate that I missed. Here's what he tweeted. Just got to the part where this guy snarkily hand waves away this email by saying, oh, you hear that there's gonna be kids in the pool provided as entertainment, and your mind automatically jumps to it being sexual? Which, yes, that is an insane, nonsensical jump that you're making. And first of all, the email didn't say there's gonna be kids in the pool provided as entertainment. Here's the full thing. Just fucking read it. This is a grandma talking about how her grandchildren will be joining her at a family gathering. If you think this email is sexual, that's just a reading comprehension issue, or so much pent-up horniness that the jizz is leaking into your brain and frying the circuitry. He goes on to say, I sure am curious how he's going to square that circle with the Washington Life magazine interview with his brother, where he talks about having frequent pizza parties with the owner of Comet Ping Pong, where people come over to look at his art collection, including these two paintings hanging on the walls of his house. They're by his favorite artist, Bilana Djurjevic, a Serbian painter known for painting pictures of sexually abused children in swimming pools. Okay, I counted 5 flags on the play there, so let's go back and do a quick fact check. 1, the Washington Life magazine interview had nothing to do with his brother. It was just Tony. No mention of John whatsoever. 2, the reason they had pizza parties is because these are deep ethnic Italians
I have a deep ethnic background. My mother was Greek American, my father was Italian American. I almost always cook Italian.
And his friend owns a pizza restaurant. 3, her name is Biljana. 4, technically, Tony never said she was his favorite artist. He did list his favorite artists, which include all of these guys. He is a fan of Biljana, but he never said she was his favorite. Either way, Biljana is not known for painting pictures of sexually abused children. That is factually incorrect, sir. Look very closely and you will see that no one is being sexually abused in any of these paintings. There's actually no sex or abuse or anything at all in that category remotely in any of the artwork in the Podesta's entire collection. So, Flesh, not only is there nothing remotely sexual about that email, but this painting he links here, the one on display in Tony's house, also has nothing sexual about it. This doesn't support that first part. Neither of these are sexual at all, Flesh. And you saying that really is a red flag for me personally. How do you see this and think, aha, got him. Here's a lurid sexual image that supports my earlier conclusion that this random grandma's email about a barbecue was also sexual. What the fuck is going on in your brain? It's like when a cartoon character gets super hungry and they imagine people as roasted turkeys. I don't know, maybe Flesh is so horny for shooting his gun at pedophiles that he hallucinates child abuse like Cyborg from Teen Titans hallucinates steaks.
You bet there's something wrong. We need gravy and plenty of it.
So, what circle am I supposed to square? I did go over all of this stuff already extensively in my last video. And just to be clear, the email he's referring to doesn't even involve Tony Podesta at all. It's his brother, John. They're different people. There's no overlap of characters in these two things. Not that it even matters. But yeah, John and Tony are different people. And yes, Tony has dinner parties at his mansion with his friends, and John and his wife's friend Tamara once planned a fun day at their farmhouse, which has a pool, and she mentions she's bringing her 3 grandkids, whom she notes will bring levity to the social gathering. Because children, listen to me closely here, Flesh, like to play. So I'm supposed to square that nothing data point with this other data point, which is that Tony, a totally different person, not involved in that Sunday fun day at the farmhouse with a pool, owns a painting that also features a tiled background that is reminiscent of a pool? How do I square the fact that an avant-garde Serbian artist painted a melancholy portrait of girls in what appears to be a drained Balkan public school pool with the fact that the brother of the guy who purchased that painting also has a friend with an outdoor pool at which he once had a family barbecue in America and not Serbia? These two things require no squaring. I don't know what the fuck you're trying to say, Flesh. These are two totally unrelated facts involving all different people with nothing contradictory or suspicious. I mean, there was also a pool at the Great Wolf Lodge I stayed as a kid. Do we think there's a cabal of pedophiles there too? Which pools are safe? In the exact same way that there's nothing weird about Italian chefs cooking Italian food, there's nothing weird about children playing in swimming pools or Serbians making weird art. That's what children do. That's what Serbian artists do. And that's what Italian chefs do. Welcome to Earth. But let's put on our tinfoil hats and try to decipher the point he's trying to make. Okay, let's be serious. Because the wife of the brother of the campaign manager of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, because that couple bought a painting which depicts melancholy children in a pool, that is somehow evidence that his brother and Hillary Clinton are doing real child sex trafficking. Is that right, Flesh? It's like talking to Lassie. What is it, boy? What are you trying to tell us? Speak, boy, speak. Hang on, wait, yeah. So he's saying that the tiled backgrounds from this Serbian woman's fictional cartoon paintings are the same pool at the farm that Tony's brothers once went for a Sunday barbecue with his family and friends. So that would mean that these paintings are actually real images of that pool, and these girls are real Pizzagate victims. I actually think that is what Flesh believes, based on nothing other than the dopamine hit his brain got when he heard the word pool twice. But he's just too shy to admit it. Which makes sense, because that would be the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. But wait, yeah, that must be it. He thinks these girls are the grandchildren that were swimming at the family barbecue, and this is the pool. Sure, it's a different kind of pool, and the ages don't match at all, and there's no reason you would ever think that. But no, fuck it. Incredible investigative work, Flesh. But you better talk to that weird European bitch from Fall of the Cabal, because she also thinks she's found the pool from the fictional Serbian painting, but she's identified a different pool.
When this appeared on 8chan, I knew I was on the right path.
So y'all are gonna have to powwow and work that out. But also let me say this very clearly. Paintings are not real. Fictional cartoon children cannot be actual real victims of child abuse. You think the Mona Lisa is trafficking these girls to the thinker? It's literally the same thing as looking at this Picasso painting and going, oh my God, that girl is doing tax fraud. It's like, no, what? You're just imagining that. That's not in the painting. Here's what I think is happening in Flesh's head. He probably has, like a Papa Roach poster in his bedroom. Why? Because he loves going to rock and roll concerts. Well, what does one hang on the wall? Well, things you love doing. So when he hears that Tony has a painting of melancholy children in a pool hanging in his house, he thinks, wow, Tony must personally love making children sad, presumably via sexual abuse in pools, the same way that I love going to nu metal gigs. According to Flesh, Tony must be having sex with children exclusively because of the way this painting makes him feel. There is no deeper thought happening. So all I can say is, hey, Flesh, maybe go jerk off and come back and reevaluate the painting and see if it still makes you think of sex. Because there's just no textual implication of sex or abuse at all, period. If you look at this painting and tell me it displays a group of sexually abused girls, you would be wrong. That's wrong analysis, full stop. I don't know what to say. He is projecting this. Anyone who isn't trapped in an agitated Pizzagate field mania can see it. Like, just stop and forget everything you know about Pizzagate and Tony and Biljana and the Nazis, and just try to evaluate this art objectively. What? Who's playing that scary music? Stop it. Okay, I get it. These paintings do feel unsettling, but feeling unsettling is very much not the same thing as depicting child abuse. You know how I could easily convince dumb social media users that a painting is actually about child sex trafficking? I just have to repeatedly subject them to something like this. If I put you in front of a screen with that for years, you are going to very strongly associate that painting with child trafficking. These paintings, which aren't really that scary, feel way scarier when you only encounter them on 4chan in a thread where the adjacent juxtaposed images are like actual photos of CSAM and Pizzagate creepypasta. This is called the Kuleshov effect. When we see a neutral expression juxtaposed with different objects, that causes our dumbass brains to go back and retroactively judge the facial expression to be something other than neutral. Because, misleading editing doesn't exist in nature. But we must learn to separate these paintings from all of the horrific 4chan bullshit that has been burned into your retinas. Let's compromise. Even if these children are not real or Pizzagate victims, and even if this painting painting has nothing to do with sexual abuse. I think we can all agree that these paintings are at least, like the work of Francis Bacon, a little creepy, a little disturbing, and elicit strong emotional reactions. Sure, it's easy to imagine a backstory, but there's an infinite number of directions you could go. And that backstory we project comes from within us, as elicited by the piece. Am I making sense? Maybe they're sad because they lost the big soccer game. Maybe their jazz band got second in Battle of the Bands. Maybe they're all best friends who are sad because they're graduating and not going to see each other again next year. Maybe they're sad because they were hoping to go for a swim, but somebody drained the pool. Art like this is both a window and a mirror. Let's say it's a window to this place, which Biljana herself calls a fantasy world.
So therefore, it's always a fantasy world.
But that window into the fantasy world also reflects back aspects of yourself as you gaze through it. We're all seeing the same things, but Flesh is bringing all sorts of other baggage to the observation that taints the viewing experience for him. You know, if he was obsessed with vampires instead of conspiracy theories, he would probably instinctively feel that this painting was about vampires instead. But no matter how stupid or wrong your personal interpretation is, I think we can all agree that this art is a bit unsettling, for sure. I'm not denying that. And Biljana understands that too. It's fucking intentional, guys.
And of course, I stay on a track with fear, human fear, and I think I always analyze human fear not from the point of view of the victim, but always from the point of view of the executor.
The people who display and view her work in galleries all understand that. We can all see that. But Flesh bafflingly assumes that Tony Podesta, friend and patron of Biljana Đurđević, somehow has the opposite emotional reaction to this art that every other human on the planet would have. Yes, Flesh truly believes that Tony Podesta and his wife Heather Podesta purchased and displayed these works of art because they saw them and thought, quote, "Haha, nice, those kids got owned. LMAO, that's hot." Let me just read that one more time. Haha, nice, those kids got owned. LMAO, that's hot. I'm trying real hard to stop using the R word. You guys got mad when I used it the last time, and I understand. I'm trying real hard. I'm trying to be the shepherd. But this path I walk is not an easy one. Okay, so by owned, I guess he means sexually abused. And by LMAO, that's hot, I guess he means we are brazen sadistic pedophiles who also fundamentally misunderstand the artwork. This is what Flesh thinks is the only conceivable motivation for Tony and his wife to patronize and display the work of this renowned Serbian artist. He thinks they think it's porn. Flesh, no more 4chan. This is just like a schoolboy going, "No, bro, you wore pink, so you are gay now." That's how it works. He's just like, if you like that art, you are a pedo. If you like Powerpuff Girls, you are a girl. That's how liking things works. Sorry. He's so convinced of his instincts here that the only reason why anyone would ever display these paintings in their home was if they were genuine, actively practicing sadistic pedophile traffickers. And maybe even that these paintings are of actual people who Tony personally abused in his brother's friend's grandma's pool. Even though this premise is nonsensical on its face and has zero evidence to support it, it just has to be that, right, guys? I mean, look how creepy this painting is. There's just no other explanation, and therefore all of his friends and his brother for some reason and Hillary Clinton for some reason must also be sadistic, satanic pedophiles, and Pizzagate must be real, right? According to Flesh, the Podestas displaying these paintings is sufficient reason to jail them. I genuinely think you should be sent to prison forever just for having multiple Đurđević paintings hanging on the wall of your home. A normal person does not do that, he says. This painting alone should be sufficient for all of them to be in jail. Right, guys? Anyone who's into like not normal art must be sent to the gulag. But wait, hang on a minute, Flesh. Didn't you say that your favorite band was Swans?
Swans album I really dig. I really like The Seer. I really like The Great Annihilator. Those are my two favorite.
You know, the guys who did Raping a Slave and have album art like this and make songs that sound like this? Who is this edgelord to Pearl Clutch? As a Beatles fan, I think I'm entitled to send all of you to the gulag, because that sounds like violent pedophile music to me. That is not normal. I'm sorry.
My favorite drummer is probably Zach Hill.
But in all seriousness, I also am a fan of Swans. Swans are awesome, but also extremely fucked up and dark and have creepy fucking songs with creepy child noises. But how can you identify as a Swans fan but think Biljana Djurdjevic fans deserve jail? Flesh, as an edgelord, you should understand better than most Pizzagaters that dark, twisted, fucked up art is actually a good thing. In the words of David Lynch, you need darkness to appreciate the light.
Fix their hearts or die.
So maybe just hang on there, Flesh. Gun down, soldier. I think maybe, just maybe, there's another explanation here for why Tony had this painting hanging in his house. So, what other explanation could there possibly be? Okay, so I guess first of all, who is Biljana Djurdjevic? And what inspires her paintings? And what is this place I keep hearing about called Serbia? Let's bring her in and see if she can help shed some light on the situation.
I strongly believe that we miss the point as the humans. I believe that we are producing a lot of things that we don't need. And there's this desperation to produce more brought us to this level that we lost human touch, that we lost who we should be. I will now sound very far left, but you know, you can't take it everything for yourself. You have to bring something to the people as well who are working there, who are participating in different levels in your society. And because that level of enjoying in life is completely diminished, we are now in this society that I recognize as instrument of activity. And we are entering into the slavery for sure. I mean, there is no doubt. You see that the politicians are more eager to satisfy the richest people in our society rather than to think about the society that choose them to be on the top of their countries.
So Biljana is a Serbian left-wing activist and internationally renowned painter who has described her work as generally being inspired by a wide swath of social problems that she has witnessed in her life in the Balkans. She said her ideas come from things she encounters in everyday life. In a 2007 interview, she wrote of her inspirations, "I read a lot, from junkie novels to pure art novels, am addicted to TV who works 24 hours a day. I hardly watch, but I need to have it in the room. Maybe it is compilation of my thoughts that I collect through ordinary day, like seeing some old man struggling with his poverty and starting to fade from the face of the earth without being seen at all, or seeing another victim of pedophilia for this and other subjects. Unfortunately, I didn't need any imagination, just a pure reality." English is not her first language, so cut her some slack here. But that means it's important to parse this sentence carefully. Pizzagaters hear the word pedophilia and get a conspiracy theory boner. It prevents them from understanding what she's actually saying. What she isn't saying is that her paintings are actually literally of children who were victims of pedophilia. She actually explains in another interview that she does not use any actual real human subjects for her paintings, and indeed they take place in fantasy worlds.
the ideas are fantasies. Because I don't like why fantasy? Because I don't like using real people. It's something I have strong, I don't like it. I hate the idea that if I'm dealing with a very strong subject, I use a real model for that subject. So therefore, it's always a fantasy world that I use people in my imagination, those that I can imagine how they will look like.
When she says, I didn't need any imagination, just a pure reality, she means there's already plenty of darkness in the world that motivates her to create art. So she doesn't need to go out of her way to seek it. But her paintings on their own, in her own words, are abstractions. In her own words, her paintings are a fantasy world. And no, she's not saying that any paintings were directly inspired by victims of pedophilia. She's saying that she's living her life, sitting in her apartment, watching TV, reading books, studying philosophy, witnessing crime and social problems in Serbia, and just taking all of this in. Everything she encounters in the world, she processes and synthesizes into art. This is what every artist does. She's just explaining the artistic process with her imperfect English. She just once in her life offhandedly mentions victims of pedophilia as a foil to old man struggling with poverty, to illustrate two extremes of the spectrum of social problems she grapples with, as emotional inspiration for her ambiguous portraiture. She's saying that her work is inspired by the entire gamut of human suffering that she encounters in real life, books, and TV. Everything from old starving men to young abused children, and everything in between. Her paintings are semi-surreal, interpretive portraits that evoke emotions without ever actually depicting the literal social problems she wants to address. Instead, she invites us to empathize with these ambiguous, pitiful figures and reflect on the stories they conjure in our own minds.
I think that everyone who is looking at the painting have his or her own right to explain in his or her own way. So I don't believe that it's necessity to give an explanation extra. So whatever you are saying, whatever I am saying is for the worst. I always believe that it's much better when people are getting the information on their own.
Biljana has never once said that her work was inspired by child sex trafficking. Ever. Guys, she's not a Pizzagater. In fact, after Pizzagate went viral and people like Flesh started harassing her, she specifically condemned Pizzagaters. She hates you guys and wants nothing to do with you. On her website, she writes, "Shamed be he who thinks evil of it. My work deals with social problems. Those who condemn and strive to censor it are usually those who are a part of the problem. They are verbal and mental abusers, omnipresent on social media, where they point a finger at those who deal with the problem. They are easy to spot, floating on the surface of this wretched world." And in a 2020 interview, she called the Pizzagate claims about her work totally sensationalist and outrageous, adding that the reading into those paintings with kids was so disgusting that I had to react. I had to draw the line and respond clearly. What you're reading into is in fact your big problem. If you're reading into all the demons of this world, they are all yours. Pizzagaters, the demons of this world, they are all yours. Well put, Biljana. This is what I was trying to explain to Flesh when I told him that the beauty of interpretive art is that it reflects back what's in our hearts. But he didn't like that at all. He does not like looking in the mirror. You can look through all of her paintings online and they're mostly not about children at all. They explore a variety of themes and subject matters. As I said, it's a wide swath of social problems she deals with. Many of her paintings are of grotesquely sick old men, fascist dragoons, or dehumanized sweatshop workers. Again, with the goal to evoke empathy and in some small way try to help solve these problems. If anything, this is anti-pedophile art. And regardless, I promise, these particular paintings of hers, which Pizzagaters latch onto the most, are not about any of these things at all. We actually do know the specific inspiration for this series. She explains in vivid detail that these portraits of girls in their underwear were inspired by the cold, awkward, clinical embarrassments of the compulsory health exams she was subjected to in her school during her youth in the Balkans. They're about school health exams, guys. Guns down, guns down.
There is a lot of dispute about this, I see on internet, but actually the experience comes from very bizarre moment in my life and in the life of these people that are present in front of me. When we were kids, we were forced into something that is established as systematic examination. It was a health check, which we have every semester in our schools. So therefore, you are obligated to attend this health check. And one of the most important part was you have to be basically half naked. You have to be in your t-shirt and panties, and that was it. So that was for me, it was an experience that I didn't like at all. I didn't like to be exposed to the others. And there is a lot of stories coming up with this, because we also had this, and I believe every school have this. You have to go to the nature, and then you stay at some campus for kids, and you have this exploring the nature with your teacher, etc. And you don't like it, you don't feel lucky because you are there, you just want to go home and have a normal meal with your parents, etc. So basically I was at that point in my life, I was reconsidering the whole this moment of my youthness that I really left inside of me as some sort of fear.
So really, these have nothing to do with child abuse at all. Oh, and real quick, another piece of relevant disinformation to debunk. So there's this other artist that Pizzagaters like to pretend is also part of the Podesta's collection. And they spread the lie that this artist actually was his favorite. But this is 100% pure bullshit. They just post these random, totally unrelated paintings because they're shocking. So yeah, there's this other artist called Kim Noble from the UK who makes these paintings that are significantly more disturbing and actually do depict child abuse. I'm not going to show those here because there's no need to. They have nothing to do with Pizzagate. They are not in Tony's collection, and he has never once said a word about Kim Noble. When people like this guy on Twitter post shit like this, they are lying, which makes sense because Kim Noble is more of an outsider artist and hasn't received the same kind of institutional recognition or critical acclaim that Biljana has. Kim is more of a viral Instagram artist popular in the art as therapy circles, who is really mainly famous because she paints extremely horrifying things and supposedly has 20 distinct personalities and says that everything she paints really happened, but also all 20 personalities say different conflicting things. So I don't know what's going on with her across the pond, but this lady and her art have nothing to do with Pizzagate or Tony Podesta. So let's just be honest about what happened. Pizzagaters found the creepiest artist ever and then spread a fake rumor that that was Tony's favorite. But it's just a lie, I promise. There are tons of interviews of him talking about art, and he's never once mentioned her. Pizzagaters just used Kim Noble's art as weaponized visual propaganda for the Pizzagate narrative. Why lie? Because when you get down to it, Biljana's work just isn't creepy enough to get us anywhere close to Pizzagate. Okay, so we all now agree that Biljana is a good artist. Her paintings are disturbing but cool, and none of the works of art in the Podesta collection are about or depict child abuse. Okay, we're all good so far? So now for the $64,000 question. Why would Tony and his wife Heather decide to buy these admittedly unnerving paintings and hang them in their house. Well, if they're not sadistic, satanic child murderers, well, what else could it be? Let's try just taking it at face value. Let's assume for a moment that they also have functioning brains and also have a similar relationship with the art that we do. Maybe they just also agree with us that Biljana is a good artist and her paintings are unnerving but also striking and noble. Do we think that's a possible motive for Tony and Heather? Let's take a moment to learn a little more about this couple. Something that I think is important to understand about these two when trying to figure out why they might hang these paintings in their house is that they were both prolific modern art collectors who turned their house into an art gallery, a quote, shrine to contemporary art. While its open floor plan and rather sparse decor can give off a museum vibe, particularly in the basement where white-walled rooms are lined with glass containers of shelved art highlighted by recessed lighting. Quote, my personal style aesthetic is spare and clean as the art was always intended to be the centerpiece of the house, Podesta says of his Colorama home. He's doing an Animal Crossing theme house. His theme is art museum. And when you have $40 million and a house with 4 stories, an elevator, and a glass spiral staircase, you can do that. But I get where Flesh is coming from here. You know, if the only other furniture you have is a poorly assembled IKEA desk, and the only other human contact on the premises are DoorDash delivery guys, then yes, a Biljana canvas hanging in your living room would be odd. Still think it would look cool as fuck, but in more of an unhinged way. But in the contemporary art museum house, it makes way more sense. Just look at these two. Look at the way they dress. These are art yuppies. Come on, guys. This is Maud Lebowski. Heather Podesta was on the board of trustees of the MoCA in LA, and she's also an avid art collector of contemporary art and was named by Art News as one of the 200 top collectors for 2 years running. So Tony and Heather are world-renowned art collectors who turned their home into a modern art gallery. So that gets us pretty far to explaining why this art was hanging in their house next to a bunch of other art by other artists too, by the way, which I guess we just don't give a fuck about. And just another important thing to understand about Tony and Heather is that they used to be what we call lobbyists. That means their job was literally to personally influence lawmakers and politicians toward various legislative goals, including many of the same liberal social causes that Biljana is also passionate about. In the real world, lobbying means dinner parties. That's how you lobby. That's what the job means. You booze, you schmooze, you ingratiate yourself, and then you hit them with the pitch to deregulate 5G or whatever. I don't know. So converting their house to a literal art gallery event space, a place where influential and high-profile people could come and chat and dine and lobby, that really makes a lot of sense given his line of work. Converting your house into a museum signals sophistication, power, influence, and makes going over there more appealing. The most pessimistic possible interpretation you could really argue here is that these works of art function primarily as fashionable conversation starters and psychological icebreakers that could help segue into open-minded discussions of their lobbying agenda. Having these evocative paintings in this sophisticated social hub actually makes a lot of sense, considering their job was to endear themselves with the liberal elite. The artwork was not only for them to personally look at and jerk off to every day, as Flesh imagines, but instead was for their innumerable guests at their frequent professional dinner parties and to give them an aura of being not just a lobbyist, but an influential tastemaker and compassionate, cultured liberal. As always, the Pizzagate narrative is just a complete inversion of reality. The artists and political parties that actually care about helping children are thoughtlessly labeled as pedophiles for their anti-pedophile art. But when a dumbass barges into an innocuous restaurant and traumatizes random children with a loaded AR-15, that guy is a hero? Just absolute retard shit. Fuck, sorry. That was the last time, I promise. That about does it for Flesh's single botched, half-baked criticism of my 3.5 hour long video. So now let's go through his video that he made about Pizzagate and see if anything jumps out at us.
Hello.
Pause. Okay, first of all, quick couple of notes. If you want your video to be like ultra widescreen, you can just render it out in those dimensions. Here, let me teach you. Okay, so in Premiere, just change your sequence settings and then click this match source button when you're rendering. You don't need to hard code in the pixels of black bars the entire time. Those black bars aren't gonna trick us into taking you more seriously. Like, ooh, this guy must be authoritative because he filmed his YouTube video in CinemaScope. We're watching this on our phones, you goofball. Fix it. Also, let's dial it back a bit with the color grading. It's very blue and flat. Here, let me just go ahead and fix the white balance for you. We might as well crop this correctly too. Okay, great, much better. So anyway, let's quickly go through his Pizzagate video. It's only 9 minutes, so I already scanned through this thing once. And yeah, my previous video already dismantles pretty much everything he says. He does the greatest hits. You know, the Best of Pizza logo is almost sort of the same as this random FBI pedo symbol. And the words James Alefantis are almost sort of the same as the French phrase for I love children. All the classic dumb shit we know and love. No need to go through it again. Love that he also makes the classic Pizzagator mistake of claiming that one of the Podesta emails involved, quote, renting a pizza for an hour.
I'm not going to get into the emails because that is a whole other can of worms, but needless to say, it is unusual for a notable political figure to request to rent a pizza for an hour.
But no, he's just wrong. That's not what the email says, dumbass. Go back and check. He then attempts to recount the story of Edgar Welch, the Pizzagate shooter, but somehow manages to get every single detail wrong.
It is weirder when the man who did said shooting turns out to have been an out-of-work actor.
Pause. The Pizzagate shooter wasn't an actor. He was a warehouse worker, and then later worked the night shift at a grocery store after getting busted with meth. Not an actor, but a blue-collar meth head. Close. I guess he's just lying about this because he's trying to imply that the whole thing was staged theater and he was a crisis actor or something. But what would even be the point of that? But no, Welch was a true Pizzagate believer. He was just like you, Flesh. He just wanted to shoot bad guys. And after he watched a Pizzagate documentary, he thought he'd finally found some bad guys he was allowed to shoot. Just before the shooting, Welch wrote, raiding a pedophile ring, possibly sacrificing the lives of a few for the lives of many, standing up against a corrupt system that kidnaps, tortures, and rapes babies and children in our own backyard. The world is too afraid to act, and I'm too stubborn not to. He was super open about his beliefs before, during, and after. After he'd searched the whole restaurant, he quickly realized it was just a normal hipster pizza shop. So he then profusely apologized to everyone. Even the judge at his sentencing was like, I can tell your heart was in the right place, but you were just too dumb and violent for me to not give you some jail time. She said, quote, I'm truly very sorry that you find yourself in this position, because you do seem like a nice person who, in your mind, was trying to do the right thing. Quote, I wish there was more I could offer than an apology, he told the court. And that leads us to an interesting point about conspiracy theory psychology, which naturally goes completely over the head of Flesh. And just real quick, try to decipher this sentence.
It is weirder when the man who did said shooting turns out to have been an out-of-work actor with a prior conviction for a DUI, who immediately prior to the shooting was in a late-night car accident where he hit a pedestrian.
It is weirder when the man who did that shooting turns out to have been an out-of-work actor with a prior conviction for a DUI, who immediately prior to the shooting was in a late-night car accident where he hit a pedestrian. What's that, boy? A child fell down the well? I don't know what the fuck that combination of words was supposed to mean, but my guess is that he's referring to this fact, which I'm just going to read directly from the Wall Street Journal article about him. Driving to work late one October, Welch struck a 13-year-old boy. The child was seriously injured. This trauma echoed a previous one. When Welch was 8, his 16-year-old brother, whom he idolized, was killed in a car accident, a blow that destabilized the family for years. Now, following this second accident, Welch was racked with nightmares and anxiety. "We feel that accident changed him," his father told the Washington Post. A few weeks later, he watched a video online, Pizzagate, the bigger picture, and his general desire to do good, to be a rescuer, bolted toward it like an electrical current, indiscriminately and all at once. People don't fall for conspiracy theories because they're stupid. They fall for them because they fill some kind of psychological hole or function as a coping mechanism for trauma or as a narrative to alleviate guilt. Conspiracy theories offer an irresistible call that overrides and overpowers impotent forces like logic and reasoning. Conspiracy theorists are often brilliant in all other areas of their life. It's just that to them, patching that hole with this irrational conspiracy theory is more important for survival than facing reality. And these days, you don't really need to face reality if you don't want to. Just go to a different reality where you're the hero and you get to wear a tie and shoot the bad guys. But in the reality, for those of us who actually care about it, conspiracy theories, guns, and damaged psyches are not a good combination. But unfortunately, that's the combination you get with Flesh Simulator, Edgar Welch, and Nazi Germany. People don't become Nazis because they hate Jews. They hate Jews because it gives them a false sense of orientation in a confusing and painful world. Anyway, Flesh goes on to claim that the locked door the shooter broke into was the, quote, server room.
Welch came across a suspiciously locked door, and to open it, he shot the lock with his rifle. So yeah, one shot at a lock in the middle of an empty restaurant. What about the lock? Where did that door lead? Well, as it turned out, nowhere interesting. It turned out to be a normal utility closet being used as the restaurant server room.
But again, he's just lying. It wasn't a server room. They don't have a server room. It was what they call in the restaurant industry a tech closet, which contains the Wi-Fi stuff, the sales system stuff, the security camera stuff, and in the case of Comet Ping Pong, probably the audio-visual stuff for the cool concerts they hosted there. And Flesh also tells another fib that all of the security cameras were turned around backwards to face the wall.
It's weird that the CCTV cameras mysteriously got turned around backwards to face the wall behind them on the exact day that someone stormed the restaurant with a gun.
But again, it's just a fucking lie. It's not true. The police have security camera footage. It was just never made public. But there is public body camera footage of the shooter getting arrested. So just no.
DC police body camera video from the 2016 shooting at Comet Ping Pong restaurant in Northwest. We want to show you some of that video.
You can see here officers responding to the scene.
What were you doing in the location? Make sure there's nothing there. Regarding what? Pedophile ring. Regarding what? Pedophile ring. Pizzagate.
Anyway, most of his video is just him babbling about random shit. But the main thrust of his argument we finally get to is that despite the total lack of any evidence whatsoever of any child trafficking taking place, Pizzagate still actually must be true because everyone who debunks Pizzagate is actually a pedophile themselves. Aha! You see? Because all the debunkers turn out to be pedophiles, well, then it must be true. Can't think of any holes in that argument. So he stumbles through a list of what he calls 3 of the most hardline debunkers of Pizzagate, who he promises us have all turned out to be pedophiles themselves.
There are 3 other journalists I'd like to bring up. 3 of the most hardline debunkers of the theory.
But then he just immediately fucks it up. The very first one, he records himself saying it, but then adds a little title card apologizing that's like, no, sorry, actually this guy never debunked Pizzagate. But he was a pedophile. Okay, okay. Maybe just delete that part from the video then? Maybe go back and do another take and say 2 instead of 3?
Slade Somer.
Okay, whatever. Let's move on to the next one. The second of 3 of the most hardline Pizzagate debunkers is supposedly a guy named James Meek.
James Meek.
But let's just double check this one too. Okay, yes, I see here that a journalist, James Gordon Meek, was arrested for possession of child pornography, but notably not actually abusing toddlers, which is what Flesh said he did. That's what the guy in Lost Prophets did.
Arrested for what? Okay, well, so you know the band Lost Prophets? That.
Little bit of a difference, but who fucking cares? Hold on, wait a minute. Hold the fort. I think there's been a little bit of a mix-up here. Hang on, are we talking about James Meek or James Gordon Meek? These are 2 very different guys that I think we're mixing up. One of them is a pedophile, but one of them is very much not. Yeah, I think he's confused James Gordon Meek, an American sex offender, with James Meek, a totally different British guy who did once write an article about conspiracy theory psychology. So, not a hardline debunker and also not a pedophile. Flesh, what are we doing here? He's just listing random pedophiles that have nothing to do with Pizzagate at all because he's inept at Googling. Okay, so we're 0 for 2. Let's see if he can bring it home.
And Darren Bell.
Okay, so last we have Darren Bell, who is a cartoonist who was arrested for possession of AI-generated child porn. Again, a little bit different than raping toddlers, which is what Flesh accused him of, but we don't care. And also just, this guy was a cartoonist, not a journalist. And no, he never debunked Pizzagate. He just once referred to Pizzagate as a conspiracy theory, which it fucking is. So that's a solid 0 for 3. He's just falling for these dumbass misleading headlines from fake news sites. None of these people were Pizzagate debunkers at all. You know who actually published solid debunks of Pizzagate? The New York Times, including these journalists. Or, how about actual journalists on the beat like Mike Rothschild or Will Sommer or Travis View, none of whom are pedophiles, you fucking dummy. So this is just 3 absolute swings and misses. 3 huge whiffs from Flesh. I don't know, guys. This guy seems really, stupid? But no, everyone who says something that Flesh doesn't like is a pedophile. It's so easy. Why does that subreddit debunk his videos? Well, he says, because that subreddit is secretly moderated by a secret pedophile, of course.
Why are there people on Reddit who dislike me so much? So I'm assuming you're referring to the, r/cult headquarters post about my, triangular food gate video. You know who one of the moderators of that subreddit allegedly is a certain DC area restaurateur.
Taking a step back here, I hope I also don't have to just point out how stupid this whole pursuit is. Because even if it were true that the only 3 people who ever debunked Pizzagate were all prolific child serial killers, that wouldn't invalidate their work if it was indeed an accurate debunk. Your ace in the hole of calling everyone who disagrees with you a pedo isn't gonna get you out of this one, Flesh. Come on, guys. This is like the most basic fallacy of all. If Isaac Newton turned out to be a pedo, gravity would still exist, you fucking dumbass. All we have to do is find some non-pedophile and we can copy and paste the argument and give it to him. Then what are you gonna do? Flesh sees pedophiles and child abuse everywhere he looks. But the one place he's never searched in his hunt for the evil cabal is his own heart. I'm gonna level with you, Flesh. How can I put this in a way that will get through to you? Hang on, I know. Make it widescreen, boys. No, more. I need big black bars if he's gonna take me seriously. Bigger. Okay, stop. Perfect. Now we're just gonna need a heavy blue filter and some scary techno music. Okay, good. Okay, Flesh, do you feel safe? Do you feel among your tribe? Okay, here's my message to you. Try to go a couple of days without social media. Stop screeching about how everyone who points out your dumbass mistakes is a pedophile. And give us some evidence for Pizzagate, or shut the fuck up. Only you know the true source of the hatred in your heart, but you won't find answers in social media hoaxes. Maybe try going to an art gallery and doing some genuine reflecting. If you're ever in Belgrade, I know a good one. All right, get this fucking shit off of me. Anyway, that's all for today. Sending peace and love to all. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And shout out to my 2 patrons. It's a huge deal over here at Blindly HQ. I officially have 2 supporters on Patreon, both non-pedophiles. So if you'd like to join us, head on over there. I would really appreciate your support. If you want to be like Tony Podesta and help fund anti-pedophile art, that's a good place to do it. Oh, and Flesh, a few decibels lower on the techno next time, Chief. Anyway, cheers, y'all.